So now we come to the final stage of the process, which is to run our payroll. If you would have watched the previous video on consolidation, that would have meant that you would have seen us approving all the timesheets and then running our weekly consolidation process. That in turn would generate our payroll file. So what we need to do is go to the payroll section within PrimePRO, and you'll notice the week ending date of each payroll file that has been generated after running your consolidation. We download this file by clicking the download button on the right hand side. Upon downloading the file, we then log into PrimePay. So here is my login at PrimePay, where I put in my username and password, which is my email, as my username. Once I've logged in, I then go to the importer, which is where I need to import the file that I've just downloaded from PrimePRO. So we go ahead and click that, choose the file, and then select our payroll run type, which is going to be obviously our temporary staff. Then we go ahead and click import. You'll notice the status of the import is showing as pending. If it fails, it will tell us that it's failed, and then we can click into the errors where it's found the failure, which obviously means we might need to rectify those prior to importing it again. If I reload the page, it will tell me that the status is now shown as imported, and it's imported 5 records. Then we click the payroll option, and in the run section we choose temporary staff, because that's what we're going to be running now, and the payroll file, which is the 14th of July, the one that we've imported from PrimePRO. So select that and click run. So here we can see the contents and results of our calculated payroll. It shows each candidate, their NI number, tax code, gross pay, pensionable pay, taxable pay, allowable pay, and all the other bits and pieces that we need to obviously complete our payroll. We can check this to make sure this is correct before actually pushing to live, which is the next stage of the process. You can click on any of the names where you have the link, and that will open a separate tab loading that candidate name, which we'll come on to later. So in this case, I'm about to run my payroll and go live. But before I do so, I might also want to export this payroll list to Excel, which will obviously allow me to save this as a trial payroll report. Of course, when we go live, I might want to export the live one if I've made any alterations prior to actually going live. So the first question you're asked is, are you sure that you want to actually push to live? Because clearly this action cannot be reversed. So make sure that this information that we've entered in our payroll is correct before running this process. So now I've pushed to live, we get moved to the second tab in the process, which is the history tab. As you can see at the top, for our period 15, the period that we're in at the moment, we can create our payslips. So those are now automatically emailed in PDF to each of the candidates in our payroll. We can access the payslips in a minute, so I'll show you if we need copies of them or to refer to them for whatever means necessary. We are now going to create our pension files. So my payroll system is currently configured to create the pension files for Nest. We also support other pensions, so please do get in touch and find out what other pension options that we can link to. So this is where we can obviously edit any of the following dates prior to actually creation of the pension contributions file. And then we click create. Next is to send to HMRC. So this is our RTI, our faster payment submission, which will go direct to the HMRC. I've got a default payment date, which is shown here. I don't need to edit this if I don't want to, but you have the option to. You also have the option to select the late report reason if you are late making your submission, but in this case for my demo I'm not. You can run a test file which will then give you the response back from the HMRC to say whether you successfully connected to their servers, or I'm going to go straight to live to send my FPS. And of course this isn't our final year-end FPS transmission, so I'm going to keep this as no. Then I click submit. And we wait. It takes about 10 seconds to get our response back from HMRC. So as you can see, the FPS has been successful, and it's suggesting that we take a screenshot of this page in case we need to keep it for future records. Now the HMRC or the FPS button has now disappeared, which means that the FPS has successfully gone and we don't need to submit it again. Create the backs, so this will create our backs file and hold it in our reporting section. If we ever need to refer back to this payroll that we've just done, we can simply click the view and it takes us into the payroll information here. And by clicking the export button here on the top right, this will create a copy of the payroll list information shown here, and it will be a CSV file so you can open it in Excel. Next job is to end the period, so we select temporary staff. You can see it's tax period 15, simply click end period, OK, done. And now as you can see we're in tax period 16. So it's really that simple. So just to take it from the top, you go to the importer, you import the file, you then go to payroll, select your payroll type, temporary staff, choose the file, click run, check that it's OK, push to live, and then click 1, 2, 3, 4 buttons to obviously complete your payroll, concluding with ending the period. It really couldn't be that easier. So let's just go through some of the other options in our payroll. So if we go to reporting and click the RTI files, you can see the periods that we've generated our FPSs for and copies of them, which we can download if necessary for whatever reason. We can also download our contributions file, in this case for Nest, and if we had any enrolments it would also show a file for enrolments as well. As you can see with period 13, we had some enrolments there. Backs files. Again, the configuration of different backs files can be done to obviously suit different banks. This is currently set up with Barclays, so if I were to download that, that could be imported directly into barclays.net. Our payslips. We can also filter by period to make it really convenient to select the ones that we want to filter on. So in this case, period 15, and here are all the temps payslips here. We can view the payslip or download them, so if a copy needed to be sent to the candidate for whatever reason, it's really easy to do that. So if we were to view the payslip, this is a copy of the payslip. As you can see, it's really quite simply laid out for the candidate to see where they worked, how many hours, what rates, any benefits deductions, the pension contributions, tax, NI, any holiday pay if paid. Everything is all laid out nice and neat here. Then when we look at candidates, you can search for candidates, open their record, and obviously this is their details page of that particular candidate, where if you needed to edit it, you can do. But bearing in mind, this has already been imported from PrimePRO. So it saves you obviously filling in these details in PrimePay because you've simply imported it into the payroll. But if you did need to change anything directly in here, you have the option to do so. As we go down the left-hand side, you can see there are various items we can look at, such as payroll information. So again, we could edit their tax code, their NI code, or any other bits and pieces that we've got in this list shown here. In addition, this is where you would put their previous employment information, such as obviously from their P45, and of course whether they're on a week 1 code. You have the flexibility and option to add documents, which is really easy to do. So click Add New Document, date and time. So it could be copies of this, that and the other that you need to store, obviously against the payroll record of this candidate, Marcus. For statutory payments, click New Statutory Payment, where you have the options to add your statutory payment type. In this case, SSP I've chosen, or SMP, SPP, and SAP. Holiday accrual information is also captured. So if we have any holiday pay accrued for this individual, then it will show up here, where you can click the holiday pay tab and then pay the holiday pay by selecting it here, and specify the number of days that they want to obviously take from their pot. Click Save, and then that will be applied to their next pay run. Work history will show each of the periods that you've calculated payroll for this individual. And if you do need to override, there is actually an override feature to obviously fix any issues, i.e. mistakes that have been made. Pensions, this person has automatically enrolled to Nest, so the software will assess the workers, send out all the documentation necessary with regard to their notices via email. It does that for you. You don't have to select any option. It just simply emails to their email address the necessary documentation. You can edit that documentation in the payroll settings with regard to any specific notice information you need to add. Then we come on to Ad Hoc Additions, where you can see any bonuses that came through from the timesheets from PrimePRO. Amendments here, we can add amendments, so deductions again that come through from PrimePRO via the timesheet. You can add them manually within the record here, which will affect the next pay run. So you could apply a deduction, the reason for the deduction, and whether you wish to include it to be calculated as part of it being taxable, NIable, pensionable, and included with the holiday pay. You can also repeat deductions if it's an ongoing thing for you to set up. We also have the option to add attachments of earnings, view their payslips in one place against this candidate, set up any student loans, choose from a number of plans. There's also the option for postgrad student loan here as well. Again, that can be entered. And finally, P60s at year end. So we have a very comprehensive record, obviously to store all the necessary payroll information for you to run an entire payroll. I don't know whether you noticed when I was running the payroll earlier, there is also an option for internal staff. So it is possible for you to run your internal payroll as well in this system. And we support weekly, 2-weekly, and monthly and 4-weekly payrolls. So obviously we give you the flexibility to manage, obviously, perhaps in most cases, a weekly payroll for your temps and a monthly payroll for your perm staff. So that's it. As you can see, it's a very, very simple solution, quick and easy, and in my opinion, a no-brainer. Obviously fitting beautifully with PrimePRO, where it can simply import the data after consolidation for you to complete your entire process from start to finish with an end-to-end solution from PrimePRO. Thank you for watching.